10 years ago, this quiet suburban street became the center of a mystery that would haunt this town forever. On a morning just like this, a man walked out of his front door and simply vanished into thin air, leaving behind nothing but a chilling silence and a growing sense of dread that never truly went away. Arthur Vance was just 32 years old, a man with everything to live for. He was seen for the last time heading toward the dense, dark tree line on the edge of town. He looked back once, a fleeting, anxious glance that no one knew would be his final goodbye before the shadows swallowed him whole. The days bled into weeks, and the weeks into long, painful years. Seasons changed, memories faded, and the world moved on without him. But for those left behind, time stood still. For a decade, the case of Arthur Vance remained a frozen fragment of history, a cold file waiting for an answer that seemed impossible. Detective Sarah Miller was the only one who never stopped looking. To her, the evidence board wasn't just a collection of old photos and clippings. It was a map of a life interrupted. Every lead had been a dead end, but she knew that secrets this heavy eventually find a way to the surface. She often remembered the initial search, the desperate cries echoing through the pouring rain and the frantic beams of flashlights cutting through the thick, wet dark of the woods. They had combed every single inch of that forest, yet it was as if the earth itself had opened up and consumed Arthur Vance entirely. The focus eventually shifted to the old abandoned house where Arthur was last seen near. It was a decaying structure that seemed to hold its breath. For years it sat overgrown and silent, an eyesore to the neighbors but a monument of unanswered questions to the police who could never find a single clue inside. But 10 years later, the silence was finally broken. A construction crew hired to renovate the property stumbled upon something the original investigators had completely missed. Hidden deep beneath the rotting floorboards was a heavy, rusted iron cellar door, sealed tight and forgotten by time itself for a whole decade. When they pried it open, they didn't find dirt or rubble. They found a perfectly preserved living space. It was a disturbing time capsule, a bed made, a table set, and personal items neatly arranged. It looked as though someone had been living there, hidden just inches beneath the feet of the search parties. Detective Miller was called back to the scene immediately. Stepping into that subterranean room, the air was cold and smelled of old paper. Her flashlight cut through the gloom, reflecting off strange artifacts and personal journals that belonged to a man who was supposed to be miles away or long dead. In the corner, she found a stack of journals and a digital camera. When the screen flickered to life, the face that stared back wasn't the young Arthur they remembered. It was a man aged by isolation, his eyes wide with a terror that seemed to transcend the recording. He was staring directly at us. But the cellar wasn't the end of the mystery. Behind a heavy built-in bookshelf, Miller discovered a narrow, concealed door. It led to a complex system of tunnels, carved out by hand, stretching far beyond the foundation of the house. This wasn't a prison. It was a secret vantage point. The most shocking discovery was at the very end of the tunnel. A wall was covered in hundreds of recent photographs. They were pictures of the townspeople going to work, playing in the park, living their lives. Arthur Vance hadn't disappeared at all. He had been watching everyone from the shadows for 10 years. The case was reopened, but the tunnels were found empty. Arthur Vance was gone again. Some say he is still out there, hiding in plain sight, watching from the edges of the woods with a mysterious smile, waiting for the right moment to emerge once more into a world that had forgotten him. The truth is often more terrifying than the mystery itself. Knowing he was there all along, watching your every move while the whole world searched for him. Tell us, if you knew he was right under your feet, would you have the courage to look for him?